mean, he looks at the door, he looks all around the mailbox, he looks toward the house, he looks at the door, and he's like, wham! Slams the mailbox door, hightails it into the house. This was weird. The first thing he does, my dad, he runs inside the house, flips on the front porch light, right? No sweat. Then my dad, in about 45 seconds, my dad, he runs through the entire house. He turns on every stinking light in the house. We got a big, like, picture window in front of our house, you know. So the curtains are open. He's got a chair sitting right smack in front of the window, floor lamp by the chair. He walks over there, turns on the floor lamp, sits down in a chair. Doesn't take off his tie, his coat, nothing. Sits down in a chair, looks out the window. All night he does this. He does not move. Finally, about 11 o'clock at night, my dad, he stands up, he takes off his tie, his jacket, he drapes him over the chair. So I'm thinking, okay, so he's going to bed. Great, I got to look at him. Fine, I'm out of here. My dad gets out of the chair, he walks to the front window like this. He stands like this with his nose pressed to the glass of the front picture window for like 45 minutes. He stands there. And then he sits back down in the chair. I smoked the rest of the weed at the bottom of the pillowcase, all the stems, and then I fell asleep. I woke up, it was about 5 o'clock in the morning. It was pouring down rain like it was today. I was sopping wet, I was freezing cold, I was very sober, I had the munchies. And, you know, I just figured, oh boy, you better get out of here. The neighborhood's gonna wake up and somebody's calling the cops on you, man, you better leave. So I figured, okay, I'm leaving, I'll go find some Oreos for breakfast, right? So I start walking down the street. I've got to go past my folks' house to get out of the neighborhood, right? So I get almost up even with my folks' house, and I sort of glance over my shoulder at my folks' house, you know, kind of, you know, I don't know, one last look sort of thing, right? He's sitting in the chair. I can't tell if he's awake or he's asleep, but I'm frozen in the middle of the street. I'm thinking, ay, what do I do? I mean, do I run? Maybe he's asleep. Do I turn and walk toward the house? Maybe he's awake. I don't know. What do I do? Before I could even decide what to do, my dad is out of the chair like this at the window. So I turned. I started walking very slowly up to the front door of his house. I got like 40 yards from the middle of the street to the door. In those 40 yards, I'm putting together the quickest, slickest, you know, best little snow job speech I could put together. You guys know how those go. I get up to the doorbell before I lost my nerve. I rang the doorbell. I couldn't even look up. I mean, it's like my nerve just like went out my finger. I rang the doorbell. I'm standing there staring at the door thing, the threshold thing. My dad answers the door. It takes him about 5 seconds. I could tell as my dad, I'm staring at his shoes, wingtips. He says nothing. I stare at his feet. He says nothing. I stare at his shoes. He says nothing. My dad normally has a lot to say, right? I'm staring at his shoes. I'm thinking, come on, man, say something. Cuss me out. Slam the stinking door in my face. Cuss me out. Say something. My dad says nothing. Finally, I looked up to see why he was saying nothing. He's standing there looking at me. He's crying his eyes out. Kind of crying, you know, it doesn't make any noise. You know, it's just crying. I didn't know what to do. I stared at his shoes some more. And I started into this little speech I'd worked up, right? I get like 3 sentences into this stupid little speech I worked up, and my daddy would not let me give my speech. He put his hand right here on my mouth, and he just said, shh, baby. Shh, baby. Every time I start to give my speech, he does this. He goes, it's okay, baby. He fixed me breakfast. My favorite thing is French toast. You know, I'll tell you guys something. I didn't get what I expected from him. I sure didn't get what I deserved. Look, I'm not complaining.
Somebody loves those babies. Somebody loves what we can't see. And somebody told them maybe those babies would be free.
I love that story I just told you guys.
Somebody loves those babies.
I've loved it since the first time I read it. Jesus tells it. It's one of the favorite stories of mine that Jesus tells. You know why? Because that story of the prodigal son tells me two things. It tells me who I am, but more importantly, it tells me who God is. And what I have discovered over the years is I can't really know who I am until I know who God is. And who God is, of course, as shown so strongly by that story, who God is that incredibly loving Father, that mighty fortress, don't mess with him, Daddy.